Good morning everybody, and welcome back to another weekly recap. In the weekly recap, I like to go over any news related to the old school RuneScape community this week. Now, this week we did get an update, however, once again, fairly small. That said, we are ramping up for next week, which is going to be combat achievements. Now, with that said, the update, while small, is also very impactful. We got a few changes to Slayer, which could have a very big impact on, well, how you do Slayer. On top of that, there's a really awesome new Runelite update, which has added in something I've always wanted. And as always, there's going to be a weekly Q&A, which we're going to do a quick recap of. As always, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy the weekly recap, always appreciate it. If you leave a like in the video, helps out a bunch. Thank you so much, guys, and let's get started. Okay, so first up here, we're going to have a look at some of the Poll 75 changes for Slayer. Now, starting up at the top here, we have some long-awaited visual changes to the Slayer helm. Now, previously, they were simple recolors, however, now they're a bit more of a redesign. So the recolors that you get from the King Black Dragon, the Calphite Queen, the Abyssal Demon, Skatizo, and Vorkath have all had a visual change to make them more distinct, not only by color, but also by shape. Now, I don't personally have any of the recolors, but I do like that they have their own identity now. Okay, now probably one of the biggest changes this week is to Slayer once again. Jagex has added in the ability to store a task for later. Now, this ability is not free. First up, you need to unlock it for 1,000 Slayer points, which is a fairly steep price compared to everything else. Now, after you have unlocked it, you will now have the ability to store one task at a time at a cost of 50 Slayer points. So instead of just canceling it outright for 30, it would now go into your stored task slot. For example, if you got a Greater Demon task, however, you want to do some Zamorak God Wars later in the week with a friend, you could just pay 50 points to store it till then, and then you can unstore it for free later. Now, one thing that I believe was confirmed by a Jagex moderator is you are still able to get duplicate tasks, however, not the first time. So if you do store a Hellhound task, for example, you are guaranteed to not get a Hellhound task on your next attempt. However, after that, you are able to get duplicate tasks, so it does not act as a pseudo block slot. Now, a few other big changes to Slayer. If you get a Zulrah boss task, you're now able to choose 3 to 35. I'm not sure what it was previously, but I assume that changed. Now, within the Caridian Desert Smoke Well, there is a task-only area for Dust Devils. Within the God Wars dungeon, there's now been more Blood Velds added, as I believe they are a Slayer task from Konar. The Alchemical Hydra now has a new animation that will tell you when it's going to switch forms. However, this was bugged for a few hours, and sometimes the Alchemical Hydra would just straight up disappear. That has since been fixed. And another big one that players have been asking for a long time is a shortcut has been added to get to the Asgarnian Ice Dungeon. That will require 72 agility. And the final major changes this week is actually to the Grotesque Guardian. The Grotesque Guardian has to be one of the most changed bosses in the last couple of years, which is good because when it was released it was a bit clunky and slow, but it's a really cool boss fight, so I'm glad they are giving it some love. First to appear, Grotesque Guardian energy spheres no longer deal damage when a player absorbs them. So I guess now they just heal the boss. And finally here, in phase 2 of the Grotesque Guardian fight, you'll now see an indicator as to where the rocks are going to land. So just overall making it a little bit easier to fight the Grotesque Guardian. And that's pretty much it for content changes this week. There were a few changes to their terms and services. One thing I didn't know is that apparently Jagex is developing a new game called Space Punks. Maybe one day they'll have another successful IP that's not RuneScape, but I kind of doubt it. Now, just this morning actually, there was a very small poll blog release that was aptly named Mini Poll. These are all miscellaneous changes, but some interesting ones here. Now, the first poll change here is going to be to the Ash Sanctifier. Now, when the Ash Sanctifier came out, it would award you with 100% prayer experience for every ash that it buried. However, they quickly rolled that back to 50% for both the Hard and Kepler's Diary because originally they didn't actually acknowledge that that would be the case. So now they are polling whether the Ash Sanctifier should have 100% prayer experience rewarded for every ash that it sanctifies, keeping in mind that now the Sanctifier does cost 10 times as much as well. Now, because of the introduction of the new Amethyst Dart, there's been an increased demand for Amethyst. So in this poll blog, they're proposing another Amethyst Vein that could be unlocked with 7,500 Stardust. It wouldn't be a private instance or anything, but it would only be open to those who have unlocked it. So a nice little tie-in with shooting stars, maybe that will give me an incentive to do it sometime. Now the next two questions have to do with the newly released Bow of Ferdinand. Now first up here, we're looking at the Enhanced Crystal Weapon Seed. Once you've gotten both the Blade of Saldor and the Bow of Ferdinand, there's no real point to get another Crystal Weapon Seed. If you're an Ironman at least, So they would like to add in the ability to dismantle an enhanced crystal weapon seed into 1500 crystal shards. So that would give you 10 times more than an enhanced crystal teleport seed, giving it a effective value of around 40 mil. Now question 3 has to do with Ultimate Ironman. Currently you are able to store a crystal bow within a stash unit. However, the bow of Faradinin is obviously quite a bit stronger, so they would like to poll whether or not this would be included. Now the final change here is very interesting, and it has to do with the looting bag and Ultimate Ironman. Now because the entire wilderness is potentially going to be changed to singles plus, Ultimate Ironman going into the wilderness to access their looting bag would no longer be safe. Previously, they'd be able to box a skeleton. They could be almost certain that they wouldn't be specced out while they were accessing their looting bag. However, now they wouldn't really be able to box a skeleton, and the risk for Ultimate Ironman going into the wilderness to access their looting bag would increase tremendously. So the change they would like to make is to actually allow players to store items in their looting bag when they are within the Ferox Enclave area. So you would technically be in the wilderness, however you'd be in a safe area, no one could attack you, but you could access your looting bag. So that would make it a lot easier for Ultimate Ironman, however there are poll questions for both. And yeah, that is it for the mini poll. Now this week we did get a Runelite update, and unironically I have to say it's probably one of my favorite plugins and new updates of the last couple of years. Now what they've added in is a few things, but my favorite part is the roof removal plugin. Now this is huge because I think the vast majority of players play with the hide roofs toggle on. For most people, the game world constantly looks like this, which is fine and it's a lot more convenient going in and out of buildings. However, it does make the world look kind of flat and lacking a bit of life. Now if you have the normal roof toggle on, it can be okay, but getting into buildings can be kind of awkward. You can't really see where you're clicking. For example, if I just want to go into this building, it's kind of awkward. I either have to kind of guess where the door is or kind of scroll down here and go in, and then the roof will hide itself. However, if we turn on the new roof removal plugin, to turn it on, you just come over here into Runelite and look for roof removal. Roofs will now remove both when you're in the building, however, also when you hover over them. Now this is kind of a game changer because say we want to go into this building, we'll just come over here and we can see right into it. However, it leaves the rest of the roofs intact unless we scroll over them. I think this really helps make the game feel a bit more modern, and I'm really excited to actually play with my roofs on for once. There are a ton of areas that look completely different, like Treenome Village looks way cooler with the roofs on. I mean, there's like little tree houses here, but you just don't get to see those because it's just too annoying normally. I even forgot your player-owned house most likely has roofs. I mean, why wouldn't it? I think of all the kind of pseudo HD plugins we've gotten, this one is one of my favorites. Now on top of that, they've also added in a better model renderer, so you can draw precise lines around NPCs where previously they were a little bit boxy. So previously it'd have the entire hull highlighted. However, now we can just do a border outline, which will be a little bit more accurate and also a bit less intrusive. And finally, another really interesting change is you can export your tile markers to the Runelite website, and you are now able to see all of your tile markers on the overworld. So thank you once again for just a giant Runelite update, kind of bigger than the actual update, honestly. So thank you guys once again. Well, apparently I've been bamboozled once again. There is no Q&A stream this week, it is just a art stream. I did watch through it all, and there wasn't really anything game related to it. Obviously, I do appreciate the artists that work in the game, but not much to report here. Anyway guys, I guess that's going to be it for the weekly recap. Hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I will see you next week with combat achievements. Looking forward to it. See you then. Now before I go here, I want to give a giant thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to Guy Fox, Wolf of the Hunt, Timothy Chen, Ocelot, and Kush Patel for all being subscribed to the Dragon tier. Thank you guys so much as always, really appreciate it. And also a giant thank you to Branton Griffin, Hunter Durant, Lord Dojin, All Things Gaming, Yo-Yo Sub 89, Connor B, Birdbot, and Base Titch. For all being subscribed at the Runelite tier, thank you guys also, appreciate it a lot. As always, if you guys are looking for another way to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is an awesome way to do so. Get immortalized in all of my future videos, get access to my video release schedule, and of course get a custom role in my Discord server. Thanks again guys, and I'll see you next time.